I'm really pleased to get ideas started with this gentleman. Not only one of the best people in our business, but one of the brightest minds in our business. Billy Taylor is a business executive. He's a tremendous speaker. He's been involved in leadership his entire career. He's currently the CEO of Linked Excellence, a business operating systems architecture firm. He served as the global head of diversity, equity, and inclusion for the Association of Manufacturing Excellence for 30 years. He worked for the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company as head of the North American Commercial Manufacturing and Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. As global head of diversity and inclusion for Goodyear, he's led diversity and inclusion strategies for more than 64,000 employees across the 22 countries that Goodyear operates. He's a Master Six Sigma Black Belt business leader. He was named by the National Diversity Council in the U.S. as one of the top 100 diversity officers in the country. He's received numerous awards from the Shingo Institute and the Association for Manufacturing Excellence. He earned his MBA at Baker University in Baldwin, Kansas, a Bachelor of Science degree in Electrical Engineering from Prairie View A&M. On top of all of that, he's a reformed track coach. It is my great pleasure to introduce my good friend and a tremendous champion of inclusion and of manufacturing, Billy Ray Taylor.
Thank you. Well, good morning. I like to have fun, and I like to be very practical. Thank y'all for coming. But before we start, I want you to write something down for me. If you make people visible, they will make you valuable. Think about that for a minute. If you make people visible, they will make you valuable. And when you think about the human, one of the things that we crave most as human beings, even in our relationships, even when we go to work, it's that value thing. We want to be valued. And when we're not valued, we're not at our best. And so at the core of diversity and inclusion, that value proposition is what's critical. I'm going to share stories with you not only about tools and processes around diversity and inclusion, but practical applications. And see, when I was in plants, and I remember going into the Deep South in Texas, and I was promoted as the assistant plant manager in Tyler, Texas. What I didn't know is they had not told the staff that I was coming. And they did not have any minorities on their executive teams. And when I showed up, they told me to stay in the hotel room until they notified everyone. And then I went to work, and 3 days later, the plant manager was replaced, and they gave me the keys. I was horrified. My first strategic action was to pray, right? Because I thought this was a disaster. I'll tell you, it became my best assignment. And the thing that changed that culture was making people feel valued. And we're going to talk about that, okay? So, diversity and inclusion, what is it? And you're going to see numerous definitions. But what it's really about is embracing the differences of your workforce. See, diversity and inclusion is not just black, white. It's not just male, female. When there's two white male in the room, what's your favorite football team? Minnesota Vikings. What about yours? Ohio State Buckeyes. What's yours? Wow, what's yours again? What's yours again? Oh, you hear all the diversity, right? It's diversity. And when people embrace that, that's when you start to change your culture. And we're going to talk about that. But let's start with differences in workforces. See, the sciences of management has changed over the last 3 decades. The science of management, but the practice of managing has stayed the same in most cases. We're going to talk about the difference between accountability and ownership. See, and then on the left side, baby boomers and Gen X's, right? You think of those people that work to live and those that live to work. That was me. I wanted a good job. My children, however, they work and live at the same time. And some of the biggest challenges in America today is not hiring, it's retention. I work with a firm today that has hired 3 workforces over in a year's period of time. So it wasn't the hiring, it was the retention. And so this new workforce, this new way, this new science, companies are going to have to be more adaptive now rather than the people, right? So let's think about accountability. When I was coming up in operations, we focused on this. 5% of the people at the top, they believe they made everything happen. They're the bosses, right? And guess what? The people in the middle, they just watch. Tell me what to do, I'll do it. And then the people that were closest to the source, they just waited. Waited to be told what to do, waited for instructions. Remember, the new workforce work and live. This new workforce is so diverse. I almost had a wreck. This is a true story. There was a lot of the issues on TV, George Floyd, whatever you want to call it. I'm driving down the highway, and I see these 3 kids holding up these signs. And I look, I thought I was seeing something, right? The race of the 3 kids that were holding the sign. They were 3 white kids. See, the way that they're interacting with their friends is different than the way that I interacted with my friends. Don't make it right or wrong. It was just the way it was. You have to be real. I'm going to have some real candid conversations today. And most people don't want to have those conversations. And I'm going to tell you why later on. Around those things that are taboo, this is an uncomfortable situation. And when you start talking about diversity and inclusion, you know who's the greatest advocate? And I'm going to talk about you can't play the shame game, especially with the white male. You have to partner up. And I'm going to talk about why it's so difficult in some cases when we play the shame game, and why you'll see some of the leaders in some companies step back. And they don't want to say certain things because they're uncomfortable. They don't want to say the wrong thing, so they don't say nothing. And so how do you combat that? I'm going to talk about that. So here's what we talk about: extreme ownership. See, we want to flip that new pyramid from accountability to ownership, and this is where you start to embrace diversity and inclusion, right? I want to focus on the 80% that are executing. That 15%, now I want them deploying this strategy, and I want the leaders creating the vision and supporting the vision. And we're going to talk about that. And so let's talk about the business case. It's already been done. Often diversity and inclusion is done in 2 phases, right? Let's talk about the pleasure enhancement. It feels good. It feels good to promote a woman. It feels good to do this. It feels good to know. Because when that happens, we go to the pain point. It's hurting me. We wait for the media to come out. It's bigger than that. And see, when you talk about diversity and inclusion, these are the 3 main things that's important: talent acquisition, development, and retention. And so that's the real business case for it. But it starts with ownership, and you're going to hear me talk about that. So when you look at transforming organizations, it has to be a balance of them both, okay? So when you have diversity without inclusion, there's no collaboration, right? If you look at this group here, it's the culture, right? There's barriers. But let's go the other way. When you have inclusion without diversity, everybody's just following suit. And you don't have no ownership. So here's the fun part. When you look at diversity and inclusion, these are studies that have been done by some of the top agencies. And there's proof that when you put females in key leadership positions, those companies thrive. The different perspective. It's not Billy's opinion. This is fact. These are done with assessments. When you look at the boards, I'm on a couple of boards now. It was interesting when I went to the board that I'm on, and this CEO and the board was very intentional, and I interviewed them instead of them interviewing me. But when we went on a tour, I stopped to talk to a lot of their minorities. And the minorities would come up to me and talk, and they would just, you're on the board. You know, it was like, you're on the board. I'm like, yeah, I'm on the board. You're on the board. Yeah, I'm on the board. But what's interesting about it, the dialogue I would have with them about cultural differences that people don't understand. I would go in and embrace them and say, wow, nice shoes. See the smile on his face? What did I do? I just made him feel what? Valued. And when I talked to those people, the ideas would come out about change. Now, let me talk about something next. I want you to write the word no down. Everybody, hurry up, write it down. You got 10 seconds. If you don't think it, think what you write. What would you write down? Write it down. Pause. Pop quiz. I want to pick some people. Tell me what you wrote down. What did you write down? Well, what did you think? What word? Spell it. The word no. Spell it. N-O. Good. N-O. 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 K-N-O-W. All right, I got you. What did you write down? K-N-O-W. What did you write down? What did you think? No, what did you? Spell it? N-O. Oh, K-N-O-W. So now think about this for a second. Most people say no, and what does the brain think when it says no? Stop, fear, failure, don't go forward. Watch this. Your mind says opportunity is nowhere. Now watch this, the word K-N-O-W, here's where your mind goes. I understand differences. I embrace differences. Now watch this. Aren't that identical? Opportunity is nowhere, but watch what your mind does. Opportunity is now here. And so when you start to know about the differences and embracing those differences, that's when diversity starts to take cultural roots in an organization. And so it's really, when you think of K-N-O-W, think about what's unconscious. You've heard the word unconscious bias. Let me tell you, that's most misused in some cases, the play on words. Does it exist? Yes, it does. But do we all have unconscious bias? Yeah. Tell you what, I want to take everybody on a trip to New York City. All expense paid. I want you to go with me, and I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for just 2 seconds to reset. Please participate. Close your eyes, 2 seconds. Now open your eyes. So now, on this journey, I'm going to do the talking, and I want you to close your eyes again and picture this journey with me. Fair enough? All right, here we go. Close your eyes. You're going to the airport. You're running a little late. You get to the counter. Wow, you're tired. They move you up to first class. You get on the plane. The flight attendant sits you down and says, may I get your favorite drink? The pilot sticks their head out the door and says, should be a great flight, no turbulence. You meet this nice couple. You land. They have tickets to the Knicks. Wow, you go out to dinner, enjoy this couple, and then you go to the Knicks. The game comes down to the wire. They throw the ball up, the player dunks it, and the New York Knicks win the game. You go to your conference. The speaker comes out. Wow, what a great time. You fly back home, you land, and you had a great conference. Stop. Open your eyes. Now, your pilot. Let's start with your flight attendant. Was your flight attendant male or female? Thank you, female. Your pilot, was it black, white, Hispanic, Asian? What was your pilot? You never saw him. When he came out and says, it should be no turbulence, what would you think your pilot would be? From my biases. Keep it, let's be real with each other. The couple you met, were they same-sex couple or were they heterosexual couple? Heterosexual. Wow, let's go to the game. It comes down to the wire. They throw the ball up. What's that old saying? White men can't jump. So your basketball player that dunked the ball, what were they? What race? Keep it real. All right. Next. Your conference speaker in most cases. Thank you. See how you, thank you now, right? But think about that walk. All that is, it's not bad. It's just how we've been wired and programmed over time. But you know what? When I do see the male flight attendant, I'm okay. When I do see the female pilot or the Asian, I'm okay. See, it's what you do with those biases that change cultures. And you know what? The fact that I'm unconscious about it, remember, what do I want to do? I don't want to think, no, we're not going to hire them. No, we're not going to promote them. I think what? No. Get to know about that person. Get to know about their differences. Get to know about their advantages. It's just like these M&Ms. If you close your eyes and put them in your mouth, the only thing that matters is what's in here. See, I have the Billy Taylor 2-foot rule. Even when I work for clients, you get within 2 feet of me, I speak to you. How you doing? Good to see you today. How's it going? Good. Have a good day, good trip. Where do you live at? Where do you live? Here from Cleveland? Chicago, Chi-Town. How you doing? What's your name?
Cindy.
Cindy, where you from?
LA.
LA. Watch out now. How you doing? Where you from? Cleveland. Browns fan?
Yep.
Oh, shoot. Pause. Did y'all see the dynamic? And the people that I didn't get to, they were waiting on their hand pump. They were waiting for their turn. You know what they were waiting on? To be what? Valued. See, that's when you start to change. That's what diversity and inclusion around why people want to come, why people want to be involved. Through my career, yes, I've sat in meetings where I was supposed to sit there and shut up. And that is painful. And often we don't go to the experts. When you're talking about diversity and inclusion, it's learning to see things differently. Look at that picture. What do you see? You see a tiger. You see fear. You don't see beauty because we don't take the time to get to know the picture, and then we see beauty. We see things differently. It was interesting. I remember my first date, and I'm there, and I'm saying, "Hey, Dad, what am I supposed to do? How do I treat a lady? How do I do this, Dad? I need some help. It's my big date." And my mother's over there laughing. I said, "Mom, what's funny?" She said, "Why are you asking him? He don't know." You need to be asking me. I'm the lady. I know what ladies like. All he knows is what I tell him. Think of that perspective when you're talking hourly people on the shop floor. Getting their perspective. When you start to talk about people in the workforce. You know, I recently got a tag on LinkedIn because this lady wanted my perspective on breastfeeding. She's a recent mother, and she goes, "I value your opinion." And I said, a mother should not feel that it's punitive. And companies should provide a time and a place, and it's not their break time. Because at that point, if I feel punitive, you think I want to stay working there? No. And so when you're talking about diversity and inclusion, when you have those biases, they affect the way you recruit talent. They affect the way you mentor people and who you pick to mentor. Assign new positions. Offer job opportunities too. They also impact the way we listen. My office at Goodyear, they used to call it the runway, the hallway. There would be people lined up that didn't work for me, that would love to just come in and talk to me. But what I would always focus on was extreme ownership. I never listened for people to dump. When you walked out of my office, you walked out with a challenge. Why? See, the way we interact, we have to be very careful. And I'm going to speak, when you're talking diversity and inclusion, how do you show up? as the person. Do I believe the glass ceiling exists? Yes, I do. But the glass ceiling was never my problem. My biggest challenge was the sticky floor. Things I did to myself, things I talked myself out of, things I let people mentally influence me. And instead of focusing on how I show up and how I delivered, one of my greatest assignments and my greatest, I'm going to say, supporters was honest with me. And I'm going to talk about that honesty. I was in line to get a big promotion. But every time the leaders would come to visit the plant, here's how I showed up. I went to my comfort zone. If you don't mind, may I shake your hand? Please stand up. So whenever my VP showed up, here's how I greeted him. Hey, how you doing? Come back again. Hey, how you doing? Now pause. What does that say? When they got on a corporate jet, you know what they said? We don't want to bring Billy to corporate America. I think we're setting him up to fail. He's not ready for that environment. Because I kept saying, he's just a jock. I kept saying, he wants to play cool. He called me and says, these are the things you have to work on to help you show up. And can you tell me what I need to do? Because it seems like when I walk to the diverse population of women, I'm doing this wrong, and I'm really offending them. I got some feedback. We coached each other. The next time he came back, good, how are you doing? Good, we got a great day planned for you. How are the kids? Instead of talking about Alex scoring 30 points, I said he's the number 2 person in his class. Alexis is number 1. They're both in the National Honor Society, and they've got full rides. I said, we got a great day planned for you. They get back on the plane. 2 days later, I get a call. We want to promote you. See, I fixed my sticky floor to help me break through the glass ceiling. And often we don't talk about that. Please have a seat. Because diversity, again, I'm going to go back is around extreme ownership. And you have to earn the right to change. Most companies just focus on the technical right. See, that's not around diversity and inclusion. They figure they buy your equipment, they give you work instructions, they do all of that, and you give you tools, and you should just come to work. The great leaders focus on the cultural right. The best leaders focus on respect of people, building that trust, and getting people to be included. And I'm going to talk about some how-tos here. But this is a lady that invited me to come speak at Mid-Michigan Medical. And when I got there, she says, Billy, wear a pink shirt, pink tie, pink suit. And I said, now, the socks and tie and shirt I can do, but the suit, we're going to look for. So I get there. I do my keynote, and then she comes up, and she's dressed like this princess. She says, Billy, we're going to dance to close out our annual operating meeting. Now, this is her AOP. I'm thinking, we're going to do what? She says, we're going to dance. Now, I'm going to stereotype myself now. Listen, I'm a brother. I can dance. Right? I even put my Kenny Chesney on just in case. I was ready to go. So when the music comes on, I am shocked. The music comes on, here's what happened. So watch me whip. So watch me nay-nay. I'm like, what in the heck are you thinking? You're the CEO. What are you doing? What do you think I do 3 seconds later? So watch me nay. What do you think the whole audience does after we do it? What she did was amazing as a leader. She created a safe environment to change. Sometimes leaders say they won't change, but they don't lead by example. And so what happens is you don't have this diverse inclusion. I'm going to talk about the thing around psychological safety. Psychological safety is just as harmful as physical safety. If people don't feel it is safe to engage with you, they won't. Even the white male. I coach several CEOs. I coach several leaders. You know what we talk about? Hey, Billy, how do I have that conversation? Because I don't want to get up in front of a town hall and say the wrong thing. I don't want to do the wrong thing because I don't know. And I would say, just go ask. Just go ask. And so what happens is, in the absence of ownership comes blame. We're going to talk about that. See, it hurts to feel excluded. It hurts. It's painful. I'm going to talk about how I use ERGs, employee resource groups, affinity groups, to change an entire culture from the bottom up. And we built an operating system around it. Not only that, I'm going to share with you how we did it. And then 3 months into it, I called them all down to the lobby. They didn't even know, so this wasn't scripted. And I said, if you don't understand it, if you can't explain it, you don't embrace it. And I put my camera up in my office, and they walked through the operating system. They changed a complete culture. But before we go there, I want to do an exercise with you. How do you build trust? When you talk awareness, understanding, acceptance, appreciating, and valuing, remember embracing the differences. But I want to talk to you about building trust is about ownership too. I want you to write this down. In the absence of ownership comes blame. In the absence of ownership comes blame. When you have psychological safety, this is what you get back from your workforce. People will take risk, right? They'll give you feedback. And I'm going to talk about that, why people won't when it's psychologically unsafe. They'll hide their mistakes. They don't put the dead fish on the table. Okay? So, here we go. You think of behaviors. Behaviors you can see. Mindsets you can't. So how do you expose mindsets? So let's talk about ownership. In the absence of ownership comes what? I'm going to repeat it again. In the absence of ownership comes what? All right, I want everybody to stand up. We're going to exercise. Because I don't want to go through a diversity and inclusion conference and we don't do any practical exercise because you'll say, yeah, Billy was just blowing smoke. Well, I want to prove it. So what we're going to do, we're going to put our hands up. Go ahead and do spirit fingers to warm up. And what we're going to do, we're going to go to the left, count to 3. We're going to go to the right, count to 3. We're going to come back in the middle. On the count of 3, we're going to clap and work our bodies up. Fair enough? Here we go. Hands up. To the left. 1, 2, 3. To the right. 1, 2, 3. In the middle, spirit fingers. Ready? 1, 2, 3. So why did you clap on 2 and I clearly asked you to clap on 3? Oh, you're going to blame me. See what I told you? I told you in the absence of ownership comes what?
I was 3.
Oh, right? In the absence of ownership comes what? What did you just witness? Now pause. You all follow me. People will do what you do before they do what you say. And so to change cultures, you have to own it. Go ahead and have a seat. And what's interesting about it, when you're talking about diversity and inclusion, when we built ERGs, we assigned executive sponsors. And why we did that is we actually were cross-functional with it. You know, if you had a relative or something that was in the LGBTQ community and you were an executive, we made you the sponsor of that. You were a white female, but you adopted 2 black kids. You were the sponsor for the Goodyear Black Network. Right? And what was amazing is, and I'm going to talk about how we got into the communities, but what we built ownership around it. And people were very passionate about it. And it wasn't just a flavor of the month. It was truly how you actually was a call to action. And normally when I do this, and I had to stop doing it because people were watching some of my videos, I take my credit card out. And I say I love giving my credit card away. And what I do is I go out and I say, I love giving my credit card away, but I don't give my credit card away to people that don't take action. And say, wow, I love giving away. Let me find the platinum one. That means it's unlimited. And normally I say, hold your hand up, prove that it's unlimited. Metal, right? Metal, it's metal, metal, metal. I love giving it away, but I never give it away to people that don't take action. But I love giving it away.
I'll take it.
And this one, I love giving away. Here you say, I'll take it. Pause. I said, wow, I love giving my credit card away. Tell you what, you seem like a lunch guy. I'd love to buy you a cup of coffee. Pause. He took the 5, but he never got up to take action to come get the credit card. But he took the 5. I want you to think about what just happened. Wait a minute, watch out. What's even more amazing, most people are chomping at the bits to give it back. Look at that, told you.
You know what's worse? I'm in sales, and that's my boss.
But now think about what just happened. But let me tell you something. Every time I do this, I refuse to take it back. But I ask you to think about this. Take action. The best that you have to offer is in front of you. How do you create that environment so it's safe? You know why you didn't get up? It wasn't psychologically safe. That's why you didn't get up. My team just walked into the room, and I'm not even making it up. Dave Kutcher, over operations. Who works for you? Oh. You hear what he said? Aaron, can you stand up? Recently out of college. Does Dave and I work for you? Who worked for you, Aaron? We always ask his opinion. This millennial, right? Because his opinion matters. Go ahead and have a seat, guys. And so when you're talking about building this culture, we're going to go through this because I want to open up the questions. Creating that safe space so we can have reality checks. See, most of us won't have those conversations. And I call it the conversation with the lady in the grocery store with the baby carriage. Now, don't take this literally, but most of you won't have that conversation. You walk up to the baby carriage and you say, how does my baby look? What do we do most of the time? We walk up to the baby carriage and we do what? We lie, right? Because we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. We say, oh, baby's so cute, so precious. And you walk away and say something totally different. You always like, ooh, dang, that's an ugly baby, right? And some of y'all get rude. It doesn't even look like the father, right? Now, in all seriousness, there are no ugly babies. They're bad processes. And where did that come from? Once I was doing my daughter's hair. And when my wife came home, she says, you made my baby ugly. You didn't do her hair right. And I asked her, when have you ever showed me how to do hair? I did the best I could. We both failed. I never asked either. Right? In the absence of ownership comes what? So what we did was start to build those cultures. We had a laugh last night. My kids and my wife and I were on the phone, and we talk about these stories around being truthful because ugly babies sometimes are not about money. It's about trust, right? It's about training. It's about us and them. There are the things, if you go talk to the experts, that's when diversity and inclusion starts to take place. But let's really get to how we change the culture. And this is very practical. We did infinity groups, and we didn't do it as a flavor of the month or just program. We were building ambassadors. We knew that the people could shape our culture. The people could increase our productivity in our business. Our ERGs will become ambassadors. They would develop our future leaders if we put an operating system in place. They would actually contribute to the bottom line. And they would expand our outreach. So what did we do? We built a system that provided a safe space, like the credit card. and it was centered on extreme ownership. This is my favorite book. If you haven't read it, I would encourage you to do so. That book talks about how great leaders take poor teams and get high performance. And it also shows where poor leaders with great teams have failing results. Nick Saban is one of my favorite coaches. I didn't say Alabama was my favorite team. Okay, I said Nick Saban is one of my favorite coaches because Nick Saban, he teaches diversity at a level that on Saturday, on game day, I don't care if you're from the worst neighborhood or most poverty-stricken neighborhoods in America or from one of the richest neighborhoods. On game day, you can't tell. Because you know why? Nick Saban has a standard for how he treats people in diversity and inclusion. Now why? This is John Scalinas. I learned this from. He says home plate, if you play Little League Baseball, is 17 inches. Home plate, if you play high school baseball, is 17 inches. If you happen to make it to the major leagues, how wide do you think home plate is? 17 inches. It's the standard. And if the pitcher can't get the ball across the plate, you don't widen the standard. You deal with the issue. See, Nick Saban would say, you have the right to fail. What you don't have the right to do is make decisions that will cause the whole team to fail. And Nick Saban says, I want the best players with the right fit on the field. It's not just about talent. It's also around fit. Because I don't want nobody on my team that's going to mistreat people, be disrespectful. I don't care how smart they are. And I'm going to explain that. I've made decisions to take people off my teams that were the brightest, but they treated people horrible, which they caused the team to deflate. So, we talked about the blame game. This is what your Ergs chart looks like when people don't know what they own. And everybody thinks you're dumping on them. Everybody. And in our process for Linked Excel, we don't really focus on diversity and inclusion. We focus on culture change, blending with your operating system. That's what we do. We go into companies and we look at how they're treating their people. We look at how they're communicating to their people, right? So when we did ERGs, we started with SMART goals. We said every ERG are going to have to put out one communication status update every month. Every ERG had $10,000 to invest in whatever they wanted to invest in. There's a moral to this. Each ERG had to do 1,000 hours of community service in that demographic. So when someone says, so Goodyear, how are you investing in the black community? The ERGs would say, we've spent 2,000 hours here at the Boys Club. What about the women? We did this learning and development event with Renee Brown, wherever. LGBTQ, what do we do? Right? They actually went to those communities. Then you had to do one development event every quarter, every ERG. You also had to do one networking event. And the goal was to increase membership by 10%. Now, what we did was focus on KPIs, not KPIs. Most companies go right to the KPI. We focused on the KPI. Now, why is that important? If I want to lose weight, standing on the scale, that's the what? KPI. I need to worry about what am I eating, if I exercise. If I do all of that, I will get this, right? So think about how do you measure your KPIs that will deliver your KPIs. That's when we see this every day now. One of our companies, we went in $56,000 a day more profit. We turned down business today because we're showing companies, we don't want to spread ourselves out, but companies seeing the magnitude of how do you engage people and how they impact results. So here's the operating system. We built a purpose map, a strategy on a page. We talked about what are the KPAs: learning and development, networking, community outreach. Those are the things that each ERG had to do. Now I'm going to mess up the camera just for a second so I can walk over here and share with you how these connect. So this was Billy Taylor on membership. I'm not meeting my goal. Why aren't I meeting my goal? This ERG is causing me not to meet my goal. So I go to that ERG and ask, what support do you need from me? Now, what did we do? We created this video. I called them to my office. I wanted them to explain the system to you instead of me.
Hello, we are Goodyear's Employee Resource Groups.
Hi, my name is Tom Peoples, and I'm currently serving as the president of the GVA, which is the Goodyear Veterans Association.
Hi, I'm Christopher Morris. I lead HERO here at Goodyear. It is the ERG for LGBT associates and allies.
Hi, I'm Emily Crapper. I lead the communications for GBN, which is the Goodyear Black Network.
Hi, I'm Ana Nino, and I am the president of GWN, Goodyear's Women Network.
I'm Craig Reiner. I'm the current president of Next Generation Leaders.
Hi, I'm Jillian Roth. I'm Director of Community Engagement for Next Generation Leaders.
Hello, I'm Charlene Butler, and I'm currently president of Goodyear's Black Network.
Hi, I'm Debbie Schmid. I am Vice President Membership for OLA, focusing on Latin America.
As you can see, they're from different
Hello,
backgrounds.
I'm Christian Johnson, treasurer of the GBN Goodyear Black Network.
Hi, I'm Joni Fitch. I manage Goodyear's community engagement team, and I work with all of the ERGs in their outreach chairs.
Now, let's review our operating system.
Hi, Christopher with HERO again. We felt as we were developing our operating system, it was critical that it supported and was in harmony with the strategy roadmap. As you'll hear from my ERG colleagues a little bit later, the operating system really supports our associates to engage and enable them to realize their full potential through acting with integrity, energizing the team, promoting with collaboration, being agile, and ultimately delivering results. Because really, we as ERG members and Goodyear associates, we're one team.
Hello, I'm Charlene Butler, and these are all our ERGs, and we all work together toward a common purpose.
Hi, my name is Ana Nino. Our process starts with the white charts that help us define our purpose and keys to success as a whole and celebrating our differences.
Hi, I'm Debbie Schmid, representing OLA as the VP of Membership. So we ask, how are we going to win? How will we work, and where will we focus? We are mirroring the strategy roadmap that we talked about earlier. We have the same action plan in the ERGs as we have for Goodyear. What's good for Goodyear is good for the ERGs.
Hi, I'm Tom Peoples, and I'm currently serving as the Goodyear Veterans Association president. What you've heard thus far is we've talked about the purpose, and we talked about how we'll win, how we'll work, and where we'll focus. And one of the things that's interesting about this process is we're not a social club. We have true key performance actions, not just the indicators. Now, all of our ERGs essentially do professional development, community service, outreach, networking, and we have finances. But this is a way for us to individually track not only are we doing what we say we're going to do, but how successful we are at it.
My name is Craig Roner, and I'm the current president of Next Generation Leaders. And after we take an evaluation of our key performance actions, we come to our key performance indicator board. It's very easy to be able to tell by the red and green if you're on plan for the month or if you're on plan for the year. If you're not on plan, one of the things that we use is the action register to determine what actions we need to take to get our group back on plan for the month and for the year. So some of the actions that were put in place if I look at April and determine what actions I've done and follow the plan itself, I can move from on plan for the month, off plan for the year, to being on plan for the year as well. And with our names included here, we know the responsibility is shared amongst ERGs.
Christian Johnson. I'm the finance chair for the GBN. As you heard earlier, we talked about our KPIs, we talked about our actions, and now we actually trend everything that we get as our results. We trend our memberships, we trend our community outreach, and we also trend our spend. It's always been good to spend money, but you also have to watch how you spend your money. Everybody wants to spend, 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 but as treasurer, I also tell them.
Okay. So what happens is you saw they actually started to run the ERGs, not me. I was just an enabler. What happened was we targeted 7,000 hours. We almost had 15,000 hours. Membership went up 30%. We actually were able to monetize our community outreach, all the hours we put in place. And what changed it, and I'll share with you, that those are some of the events, but that's what an org chart looks like. And so what we look at is everybody had a strategic plan, but every one of those networking events, they had a person that owned it. And so each ERG drove excellence. And so with that being said, the SMART goals, you see 14,000 hours. We exceeded our events, networking, membership. It went global, 80% year over year. They owned it, I didn't own it. And so the moral of it is I want to end here and open it up for questions. For me, this is my son. And those that are from the Cleveland area, he played for St. Vincent, St. Mary's. That's where LeBron played. And every day I took my son to the gym and we put up 200 to 300 shots. And the goal was to shoot 60%. And I said, son, if you can shoot 60%, you'll be on the team. Well, this is the game, right before his last game, the last day I dropped him off. And I said, son, I have a meeting. Take a picture of the machine and let me know how you did. And he sends me this picture, and he shot 300 shots. He shot 87%. But look at his face. I leave the meeting because I think something's wrong. And I called him. I says, hey, son, everything okay? He says, why do you ask? I said, look at your face. He says, Dad, today I realized something. You never really focused on the KPI. Every morning we rode to school, you play your favorite song, I play my favorite song. I learned about my grandparents. I learned how to be mannerable. He says, you were focusing on the KPAs. Today I realize this is the last time we're going to ride together. He says, Dad, I may not remember all the games you came to, but I'll never forget the 2 you missed. And you didn't miss many. He said, Dad, you never put nothing ahead of me and my sisters. I remember a man saying to you, how do you have time to coach? And your reply was, I don't have time to golf. He says, Dad, I think you have something wrong. He says, Dad, great leaders, good leaders measure what matters. Great leaders embrace the fact that everything that matters can't be measured. And if you're going to be great at everything, start valuing the people around you. Start embracing the differences. You know what? I didn't want my son to be an NBA player. I wanted him to be respectful. I wanted him to treat people respectful. And you know what? As you can see here, look at the picture to the left. There's nobody around us. There's a reason why. When they won their back-to-back state championship, all of his friends and everybody else ran to cut down the net to stand there and pose with the trophy. Not my son. My son ran over to Dad, and all we did was cry and tell each other how much we love each other. No, show each other how much we value each other. And his text to me was, I'm crying in the car thinking about you, Dad. You just don't know how much you've done for me. And my reply was, son, I love you more than what's comprehensive. You bring me joy. I'm blessed. God, let me be your father. I want you to think about that. Last night, I'm on the couch with my 2 kids and my wife, and we're just joking. playing around, reading notes from when they were little kids. So you can give me all the money you want. When I get up to do keynotes, I don't do this scripted. It's from my heart. It's how I live. You know what? Bob, I wanted to know his name. When we were like, hey, how do you fit? We had a conversation. I respect what he does. I value what he does. Because without him, I wouldn't be successful up here. So why would I not show him appreciation? Remember, if you make people visible, they'll make you what? Valuable. I asked you to write that down in the beginning. If you make people visible, they will make you valuable. People are different. We're different. My friends and I are different. I have a book coming out. They just sent me the cover next year. It's called The Winning Link. And what it is, how do you define, align, and execute winning? Some of these things we talked about, we're going to share practical examples in that. And it's important because that's my favorite quote, make people visible and they'll make the organization valuable. Right culture and principles matter. Good leaders do these three things. They define winning, extreme clarity, align winning, and they know how to execute winning. Remember, KPAs drive KPIs. Psychological safety. If you have visual management, celebrate the red so you can harvest the green. Don't be punitive. And the last one is all encounters matter. A friend of mine, Ellis Jones, talking about all encounters matter. Right? Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.